The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. Matthew. People brought little children to Jesus for him to lay his hands on them and say a prayer. The disciples turned them away, but Jesus said, "Let the little children alone and do not stop them coming to me. For it is to such as these that the kingdom of heaven belongs." Then he laid his hands on them and went on his way. The Gospel of the Lord.
My dear brothers and sisters in Christ, the Gospel which we just read, I'm sure would say that this is maybe the origin of why parents will bring their children to the elders to be blessed here in the Philippines. The parents bring their children and say, bless, 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 Father, bless. And I think it's really the same thing that happens in the Gospel, that the people bring the children to be blessed by Jesus. So we have kind of three categories of people. We have the people who brought the children to Jesus. We have the children themselves. We have the disciples. These three people. The people who brought the children to Jesus, the children themselves, and the disciples. And if we start with the children, we will realize that children are brought to Jesus because they want to come. I mean, if you bring a child to an elder and he doesn't want to be blessed by the elder, he runs away. Okay? Even here in Philippines, you bring, and maybe he sees my black face and he says, "No, I don't want to be blessed by this black guy." And then he starts crying or something. Then you can't do anything. So the child has to want to be blessed. But also something about children is that they are innocent. Okay? They are innocent. When you bring them and you tell them to bless, then they know, okay, it is worth being blessed. I'm worth being blessed by this person. So the child would immediately respond to that. When the parents direct them and say, okay, bless him, then the children would just automatically go with what they have been told because they believe in the parents, they believe in the direction of those who bring them. And they also want to be blessed by people who are worthy of blessing them. And then we also have the parents on the other side who would bring the children. Okay? They bring the children to be blessed. They know that the children would not know where to go or what to do, so they take the opportunity and teach the children the right thing to do. They go and be blessed by this person. And this is what the parents did in the gospel of today. They bring their children to be blessed and prayed over by Jesus. And then we have the third category of people who are pushing them away from Jesus. And they say, no, don't come. He's a busy person. Go away. Go away and play and do something else, but not be blessed by Jesus because he's busy. He is not having this time for you. So there are those people who are an obstacle to the children being blessed by Jesus. And then, of course, we have Jesus who is always inviting children to himself, who is always inviting us to himself. Now, a lot has changed over the years. I mean, I remember when I was still growing up, we don't have this tradition of blessing, but we have a tradition which is similar of greeting your elders. Once you find your elders, you must greet them. But a lot has changed over the years that children are no longer given the right path to follow. Now, we ourselves, we can assume any of this character, whether the parents or the disciples or the children themselves. We ask ourselves that, do we really bring children to Jesus these days? I mean, it's easy to bring them to the elders to be blessed or to bring them to the priest to be blessed, but do we bring them to Jesus? It's a bigger question. Now, children at their age, that's why I'm saying when I was growing up, a lot has changed because I remember I had my first phone, my first mobile phone, a keypad, when I was 23. I just finished my second year philosophy, and I got my first phone, and I remember how excited I was to have a small Motorola. If you know Motorola phone those days, the ones whose battery would last for 2 weeks. I mean, it was very good, and I felt so privileged to have that. It had no games, it had no internet, nothing. It's just a keypad phone. But you can see now what we introduce our children to. At their age, maybe we say times are changing, that they're millennial children, but we ask ourselves how that takes them away from Christ. We introduce our children to the phone at a very tender age, and they learn everything from there. And you can be sure that they will never have interest in anything that concerns God. Once they get hold of their phones, when they get hold of modernism and all the other things that exist around us, that is why our children are going away, more and more away from the church. They are going more and more away from the relationship they have with Christ because they are all busy with their phones. That is why we must ask ourselves, are we bringing our children to Jesus, or are we bringing them to TikTok, bringing them to Messenger, to Instagram, to all the social media platforms that you can think about? And it's really a pity because children are so engaged with these things, getting addicted to it, that at times to take it away from a child is like taking the breath out of the child. And this is what that is all what has been reversed, because it is Christ who gives us life. It is Christ who gives us the breath of life. And if we take Christ away from us, we are finished. But now it is not like that. If you take a mobile phone or network or data, finished. I mean, our students just came back from the retreat. I'm sure when they arrive, the first thing they're asking is, "Where do you have Wi-Fi? Do you have Wi-Fi?" And thank God the sisters don't have Wi-Fi in Mensa Domini Retreat Center, because that is what people look for. It's like the source of life, Wi-Fi. If you don't have data, you don't have Wi-Fi, you are finished. So that is the first category of people. No, we can be like the disciples who are preventing the children from seeing Jesus. And these children will not only mean children in the literal sense. It means the innocents, people who do not know what to do, where to go, or are still in the state of innocence. Where do we direct them? What do we teach them? I give a concrete example. There are some of our students who have just come new, basic formation students. There are some who have been here for a long time, and they know the system. They know how to manipulate it. They know what is right. They know what is wrong. What do you hand down to those who are innocent, those who have just come? What do you teach them? Because they are the innocents. Do you bring them to Christ, or do you bring them to your own way of life? To bring them to the things that are going to destroy them, destroy you as well, or to the bad path, or to the path that is not going to lead to the truth, the path that is going to lead to lies telling, insincerity, and in the end you realize you are not where you are supposed to be. My dear brothers and sisters, all of us, by virtue of our baptism, have a responsibility to lead each other to Jesus. By our way of life, by our words, by our actions, we have a responsibility to bring each other to Jesus in everything that we do. And most especially, I think we all have a responsibility to look after our children and to tell them about Jesus, which they do not most often hear about. Teach them about praying the rosary. Teach them about the scriptures. Teach them about coming for Mass. Teach them about going for the sacraments. These are the values which we have lost. And this is what Jesus is saying. Let the children come to me. The children cannot come to Jesus if they are not led by other people. So we all have a responsibility to lead literal children to Jesus, but also to lead each other to Jesus.